As you can see right here, we have the Ozark Trail Fast Flow, and then we have the 951 Intense. And you might be wondering what these two bikes have in common. And you'll be surprised what they have in common, because this initially began with a project that I wanted to do with this 951, but when I saw what came in the mail and everything that came with what I thought was only coming in the mail, that's when this came into play. Now you might be wondering what I'm talking about. So there's a company that I've always loved since I've been mountain biking, and I really like the brand because it's consistent and it's just quality all across the board, whether you're entry level or high end. Everything about their stuff is just always top notch, always reliable and dependable. And fortunately enough, they're willing to work with me. So I'm super excited about that. And I think you will be too once I tell you what this is. Now, this is not paid or anything like that. I always say, if I talk about something, it's because I use it on a regular basis, and I think it's something that could benefit you. I don't promote anything that I don't use personally. First, let's talk about the 951 and what I planned on doing to it before I decided that this might be a better option for the Ozark Trail. And I'd love to hear your opinion after I tell you about this. I'm not a fan of SRAM. The brakes, the drivetrain. The NX drivetrain is not bad. It just takes a while for it to shift, and it just doesn't shift as smooth as the Shimano stuff. And you probably know where I'm getting right now. So I was in contact with Shimano, and they were wanting me to try out their new deore wireless shifting system. So I thought that's all that they were sending, but come to find out, they literally sent everything. They sent wheels, brakes, rotors, shifters, bottom bracket, chain ring. They literally sent everything. And I didn't really want to change that much on this bike because this bike is good as is. And I think that would really take away from what Shimano's new stuff can really do. And that's where the Ozark Trail came in. So I think this bike is good as is. I don't really think it needs any upgrades. So I didn't really think that this would be the bike to put all that stuff on. So that's why I decided not to go with this and just keep this how it is. If I'm riding this bike, me personally, I'm probably not gonna put those kinds of upgrades on a bike like this after a bike like this already costs $2 grand. And that's just me personally. Now I know you might be wondering, why don't you put it on the Polygon T6? And I got a great explanation for that. The Polygon T6 is already running Shimano everything. I love the way that bike is set up. It came with all the stock components that I like. The Shimano brakes, the Shimano hub, Shimano cues. Everything is running smooth and great on that bike, so I don't really want to take anything off of that bike. I think it's good as is. And the only other option I was left with that makes sense, that I think this whole system can shine on, was the Ozark Trail Fast Flow. And let me show you why. And here we are with the Ozark Trail Fast Flow. Now I decided to go with this bike because in a lot of my other videos talking about this bike, I mentioned how the Advent X drivetrain is really not my favorite. And I really don't like these brakes either. These Tetros, they work really well, but they really get my fingers fatigued when I'm using them for long durations of time, especially going downhill a lot. And that's what I was thinking. I said, these Shimanos, they sent the brakes, the drivetrain, new wheels. I said, you know what? That sounds perfect for the Ozark Trail Fast Flow. And I want to thank Shimano for letting me try this stuff out. Now, this is not paid or anything, like I said. This is just me trying out the product, showing it to you because I love Shimano. If you've been here a while, you know I always run Shimano whenever possible. I also want to thank the subscriber who's still letting me use this bike. Now, I had to message him and say, hey, Shimano just sent me this stuff. Do you think you'll need the bike back anytime soon? And he said, no, just keep it, do the upgrades, and we'll just figure it out later. So I really want to give a huge thanks to you for allowing me to have this bike for so long, because this gives a lot of people the opportunity to see what's possible with this bike and how good this bike can actually ride. And that's why I think this Shimano system will be great for this, because it's a system, it's not cheap, but it's not super expensive either like the other stuff. So I think this is a practical bike to put that on that can really transform this bike and show how well that system actually works. Because I'll be honest, everything on this bike is well capable, but I was thinking, what can really change this bike besides putting a new suspension on it? And I couldn't really think of anything until Shimano sent me that box full of stuff, because that really gave me that light bulb moment when I said, oh, that's what we could do to this bike. We could take all this stuff off and really put a whole new system on it and see what it can really do. And that's the great thing about this having a universal derailleur hanger, the UDH, is that you could do things like that if you want to put wireless drivetrains on it and other things like that. It doesn't limit you on what's possible as far as upgrades with this bike. I'm also curious to see how much weight this could take off, because this bike is currently sitting at about 39 pounds. Now with new wheels, a whole new drivetrain, especially being wireless, that might be able to take a substantial amount of weight off this thing. Whole new brake system, everything will be much lighter than what's on here. So I'm guessing we can get this thing probably around 35 pounds, maybe 34 might be pushing it, but I'm hoping we could get it to 35. Now, if we ended up changing the fork out, then you could probably lose another pound and a half as well. So with all the things, we might be able to get this thing down to about 34 pounds if we decide to change this fork out. That's just my guesstimate. So that leaves the question for you. Do you think this is a good idea to put that stuff on this bike, or should I take the SRAM off and put Shimano on the 951 Intense? Or should I put it on the Polygon T6? Now, I probably won't put it on the Polygon T6 just because, like I said, it's good the way it is. And I want this system to be transformative. And I think it can really be transformative on a bike like this. This is something that you can practically put on this bike and not feel guilty or anything about it, because it's not something you'll do all at once. Like I said, for me, if I'm spending over $2,000 for a bike, $2,500, that thing better be ready to go out of the box. I better not be upgrading nothing. But this, that's where that lower barrier to entry comes in, because yeah, you might spend more on the parts, but this is a quality frame. You're getting it under $900, and you can do whatever you want to it, just like you would any $5,000 bike or anything like that. So I don't really think about the price when it comes to upgrading a bike like this. It's high quality, it's ready to upgrade, it's ready to ride. Do whatever you want with it, have fun. That's the best part about this. You could get in at a lower price, but you can upgrade as much as you want.